Got the full screen. I like this better. Hey, welcome aboard another edition of the A Game here. I'm Rob Akampora, and I'm going to get my glass out ready because I know Mike's got his glass ready. I got to say cheers to an old friend who's decided to come on with me. Cheers to that. Michael Ferentino, who is the lead singer and founding member of Loveinreverse from the 90s. They were a band that came out of New Jersey. They had done so many things that I got to know about before anybody else, and we'll get into that. But now, I can't believe I'm about to say this, 25 years after the debut EP that came out on Sire Reprise Records, here we are. That's kind of scary, 25 years.
Yep.
And I've known you now, because I'm thinking about it and going, I've known you then at least 30. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Telling you, man. Cheers to you.
Amen. Brother. And thanks for bringing your A game, brother. You're down in your garage bunker in Tampa, Florida, as a matter of fact.
Yes, sir. My Andy Warhol garage, as you can see.
I like that. Hey, listen, going back to the very beginning, I had a distinct advantage of getting to know you. I mean, to the point where, for people who don't know, I was doing some shows in Seaside, just DJing. Mike did some shows coming to the place where we're at. I'm going to check the chatter box, which is no longer in existence in Seaside, but that was a place where you would do your show. I would be the house DJ. We'd have some fun. But I knew back then, it was like, this is so different. This is Mike and Andres Carew doing their thing, dancers, lights. It was a show. I give you that. It was not only about creating great music. You were putting on a show even before there was a big stage of people in front of you. You just really, was that always the vision for you to kind of like, I'm going to make this vision and I'm going to make it visual to the ears and to the eyes and have it all come together?
Actually, it started out just as a studio project, the two of us.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, remember, technology wasn't what it is now.
True.
So it was basically, Andres was a bass player and a drummer. I was a guitarist and singer and wrote most of the songs. So we wanted to figure out a way to do this live with just the two of us because we couldn't find that third guy that gelled with us at that point.
Right.
So he was like, well, we could use the drum machines like we use in the studio anyway, and we can set it up. He's very technically proficient. I've learned to be over the years, but he was way back before it was in vogue to be. We're talking the 80s. He was already like mixing sequencers and drum machines. And
he was way ahead of the curve. Absolutely.
Way ahead of the curve. And so, we kind of brought that whole thing together. And we met a girl who's actually the mother of my kid now. Her name's Joy. She brought the idea to us. She was an artist and a dancer, and she's like, well, what if we, put together some elaborate show with costumes? So basically, her and my sister Amy, they became our dancers, and my great friend Matt Schmidt, who he was like our manager. He was really amazing with lights and effects and things like that. So he came with all these great, smoke machine effects and lighting effects, and we're like, you know what, this could be really interesting, a little bit different, present music with a show. It's like something New Jersey has never really seen in the clubs.
That's funny. You totally hit that on the head. I had never seen anything like that for what I was going out and seeing just local shows. It's like, wow, you remember this because it was so different, but it was entertaining. The music was great. Then I get to know you, and then I realized you've written like hundreds of songs at this point. So you and Andres had created so much stuff. And obviously the hope is to try to get a deal. But was there any point in your mind where you're sitting there going, are we just too far ahead of everybody that somebody's just not going to get this at a record label?
Oh, man, we were sending demos out like you can't imagine. We were having meetings with labels at the time, and it was always the small guys at the label that really didn't have the pull to get us to the right place.
Yeah, it's always the way.
There was a guy who's like a really big... I don't know, like an entertainment manager named Jerry Love. We met with him. He came and saw us and was like, oh, the music is interesting. The show is spectacular, but I don't hear any hits. That was always the problem. Nobody heard any hits.
And that
And now
became
all
the
you
thing
gotta
that
have
you
is the
started to learn.
manager.
Yeah, you had to learn. You were learning the business at that point. That feeling of, wow. I mean, everybody loves what we're doing, but they're listening for cha-ching. You learned in that
Yeah.
point of the business, everybody wants that hit before they want the album.
Right. And they didn't understand, there's a whole world of musicians and artists who basically tour to death,
Yeah.
and slowly build that following. Like, Fish never had any hits,
This
but
is
did that stop
that's a
them?
great point. That's a great
Yeah.
example you bring too. They were an album band.
Yeah. So,
They were a band that toured. They would sell some albums. They'd
right.
sell enough, but did they ever have a quote unquote even rock hit on the radio? Down with Disease is the only one that comes to
Right.
mind. That was it.
I kind of had that vision for us, but on the darker side, like one of those
Right.
jam band kind of things, like a Grateful Dead, because
Mhm.
we had a weird kind of little cult thing going on.
Yeah.
And that's what I imagine, is that we would bring that out, into like bigger places over time. But as things progressed, record labels had different ideas for us, and ultimately bringing in a third member was really cool, but it definitely changed the whole original picture. You know what I mean?
Sure, of course, yeah. I mean, what was the turning point? Was that getting Johnny Z involved in the project, or at least him championing it?
It was absolutely Johnny and Marcia, absolutely. In 1995, I was sitting in our studio, and Andres and I were working on something. I don't remember what specifically, but the phone rang. I picked it up. Hey, it's Johnny Z. Can I talk to Michael or Andres? And I'm like, yeah, this is Michael. And I was like, Johnny Z? And he's like, from Megaforce Records. I'm like, yeah, I figured someone's playing that guy.
Right, of course. And
I'm
for
like,
people who,
get the
and
hell
I
out
was
of here.
about to say, for people who don't know, Megaforce Records at this point has had quite a reputation with Anthrax. It's had some successful rock releases. So you're sitting
Oh
there
my God,
kind of going,
Metallica. He discovered
thank you.
Metallica.
Thank you.
And
Game
at the
over right
time,
there. Thank you.
he had just signed one of my favorite bands at that time, Ministry. So he was managing them.
Wow. Okay, so right
Yeah.
there, you're sitting there going, either somebody's pulling my chain or I'm
Yeah.
reaching a little bit of nirvana here with Johnny.
Exactly. So I was like, all right. So he finally convinced me he was the real deal on the phone. I was like, well, how'd you hear about us? And he said, someone gave me a cassette tape and it had a bunch of songs on it. And he goes, and it's all great. And there's this one song that jumps out at me that blows me away. A song called I Inject You, which Pinfield also was a big champion of as well. And I know you are as well.
Thank
when
you.
we first put that out.
Absolutely.
And, so, he basically invited us out to a show. It was a band called Our Lady Peace.
The
We were
Canadian rock
playing. He's
band,
like, I'm going to be
yes.
checking this band out. Do you want to come to the show as my guest? And I was like, sure, it'd be great to meet you. Yeah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, I mean, it happened so fast. We met them. They were the coolest people, so down to earth. And they were just like, listen, we don't know exactly what the plan is yet. We love what you guys do. We want to see you live. They saw that. We pulled that off pretty quickly. Then the next thing was, we're going to start another label and put you guys out on a new label, because we don't do Megaforce anymore, really. And plus, we kind of want to push you as a different thing than the metal world, because you're not metal. This is
That's
something
true.
different.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his original plan until, he also was good friends with Howie Klein from Warner Reprise, and Howie had come from Sire Records as well. So, one night, Howie came over his house for a barbecue, and he calls me and he's like, "Can you put a show on tonight?" I was like, well, "That's kind of last minute, but I don't know. I can maybe call some places." He's like, "I've got the president of Warner Reprise as my captive audience.
Hello.
I'm going to take him out to see you guys tonight." Wow. So I called up Scott Stamper at the Saint.
God bless Scott. Yes.
Favor and pushed me in. Got me into a slot, and next thing you know, Howie shows up, offers us a record deal literally that week.
Wow.
He was like, however, I love, the whole thing that you're doing. We didn't have the dancers at this point.
Okay.
So the dancers kind of phased out. For whatever reason, we slowly kind of phased that out. But it was still the two of us, a drum machine, and a big light show.
Right.
What they said was, it's pretty cool what you're doing, but we really want to have a real live drummer. I don't think people are going to get the drum machine thing in 1995, 96, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I still felt like, yeah, but this is what makes it different and interesting. I mean, come on, there's bands like Depeche Mode, they use drum machines, and
True.
Kraftwerk was doing it in the 70s. Why? He's like, yeah, but it's a different world now in the 90s. Everything is grunge and this and that. You got to have a live band. So Andres was kind of open to the idea more than I was. So I was, all right, let's try it. Let's see. But we got to find somebody that gels with us. And Andres, right from the get-go, it said Dave Halpern from Mr. Reality. That's the guy we need to have. I was like, yeah, but he's not going to just join us. He's like, yeah, well, we have a record deal on the table here. He might.
He might. It's true. And there was no apprehension from a guy who's going from more of an acoustic pop rock thing to doing what you were doing. I mean, I'm sure he probably had to sit in a couple of times for you to kind of go, oh, he can handle this. We're going to be fine.
We loved him immediately. I'm going to tell you, he came to my parents' house. We were in the basement of my parents' house. That's where we used to rehearse. We had a studio. The entire studio was painted black. You know, the walls, the ceiling, the floor.
Right.
That was our whole little vibe. We went into our little hole and recorded and rehearsed our live shows in this tiny room. So Dave Halpern came in, and immediately we gelled. He thought we were a little scary and a little weird. He's like, but I like you guys. You guys are cool. And he goes, I love the music, so I think we can do something. He's like, I'm open to this. Let's do it. Let's do it.
And then you guys come together. And Christian, if I have the photo of the three of them from about 1998, I know it came later on, but here's the three men we're talking about. Anders on the left, Mike in the center, Halpern with his hair on the right. Because Halpern is now in our club, by the way, it should be mentioned. But Dave, we love you.
We could actually start a new version of Right Said Fred.
The question is, who's the sexiest one? You or Halpern? No, it's not me. It cannot be. There's no chance. Christian, you can take the photo off. Thank you very much.
Actually, Halpern was a boxer for a while. I'm gonna put my money on Halpern being the second.
Oh yeah, you have to. You got to bet on Halpern. We're with Mike Ferentino from Loveinreverse here on the A Game. The album that eventually came out, the full length, it took some time. I mean, can you reflect back on? You had a couple of EPs out. You've been on the road. You've done some things. I remember hosting a show with you guys with Gravity Kills. I remember, and that was Republica that was on that bill too. You guys actually did a homecoming show when you came to Ortley Beach. Christian, there's a couple of concert photos from Ortley. There you go. There's the band and all its glory out on the beach.
Seen that in years.
Yeah, I've dug that one up, and I dug up the other one where you have, if you look carefully on his stomach, it's just him solo, Christian, on the stage. There you go. You can't really see it, but you put your old band name on your stomach. You put Dog on there, and I thought that was sort of like you're paying an homage to where you were. You had a lot of friends and family out there, so I'm sure this is like one of the heights of that time period, but yet we still hadn't seen the full album. What was taking so long? Do you remember? I mean, I'm sure you do. You were living it.
So the album was recorded pretty quickly. So we recorded I Was Here. Literally, we did I Was Dog right before Christmas of 1995.
Right.
We took a break for Christmas and New Year's and came right back to the studio. It was a studio up in Long Island. And Russ Titleman was the producer at the time. Brilliant producer. He had worked with Eric Clapton.
Wow.
He had worked with George Harrison, Ricky Lee Jones. And so we got in with him literally like the week after Christmas, New Year's to start the full album. So it was literally almost like it could have been a double album worth of music, really, the way that we kind of flowed with it. But the vision of the label was, let's put out something little first and then put out this, this full-length album. Let's not do it till the summer of '96 while you're on tour.
Okay.
And that's when we toured with Gravity Kills. We toured with Republica, Stabbing Westward, Ian Astbury of the Cult. We had
another good one. Yeah.
Going on that year. It's a crazy year.
But the full-length album didn't come out till when? About 98? If I got the timeline right?
No.
It's like,
that album, I Was Here, came out in '96. We did a second full-length album. That's 2 years later.
That's what I was getting confused about, the timeline on that. I do remember that Words Become Worms. As a matter of fact, Christian, we got a photo of that album cover if you want to put that up there. That was Words Become Worms. You see it. There it is. This is where I put my producer and drive him crazy, like going, I need photo 4. Thank you very much. And during this crazy time, and this is something I remember vividly because I remember the cameras coming into HTG and not really understanding what was going on here. You wind up on ABC. They do a documentary on you, and I believe the show was called Turning Point, if I remember correctly, right?
It was, yeah.
Okay, so you're doing this, and ironically, my fat ass is at the end of the damn 1 hour thing, and there I am saying it's Blueprint for Impossible song on FM 106.3. I'm sitting there going, I didn't even get my face on camera. I hate you people, ABC, but that's my problem. But looking back on that, that was supposed to be something that was supposed to help you guys. And I almost felt like, in a weird way, it's like you guys never got that bounce from it. I mean, you guys feel the same way?
It was a huge bone of contention for me. So what happened was ABC approached Liz Rosenberg, who was Madonna's publicist.
Right.
And they wanted to do a show on how a band goes from the basement to stardom, basically, was the concept here. So she approached Howie and said, hey, you know, any of your new bands you think will fit this? He was like, I'm in love with this band, Loveinreverse. So he came and approached Johnny and Marsha with this idea. So that was what we went into this believing this was going to be about.
Right.
As they went and started interviewing the label, they realized that, wait a second, the president of the label and the vice president of the label are in love with this band. Their radio department doesn't get the band, and they don't know how to market this band. So they were like, ooh, this could be really controversial. Let's put a different spin on the show about how a band goes from the basement to getting screwed over by their record label.
Oh, yeah.
So that basically obviously put, you know, a bad taste between us and the label, because now they were exposing things we didn't know were going on.
Oh, yeah. And I got to imagine.
Like what you expect from the media. And the
news,
you know
oh, I'm sure.
All kinds of stuff coming out of the woodwork. What?
Yeah, that's not the way you want to find out, first off. And then on the second part, you're sitting there going, is this going to be the end of our run here? What is going on?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly right.
Ugh. And the funny thing
is,
ultimately,
you know, and that's when I got a little taste of how fake all that stuff really is, because I would do an interview with ABC and then they'd take me aside and say, can you say it this way instead of the way you just said it?
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, I thought this was a documentary. And they're like, well, it is. It is. And then when I saw it all edited together at the end, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
They just basically ruined our relationship with Warner Reprise here.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, and again, you hear about bands having an ending. I mean, not like you guys ended, but it is sort of the, wow, what a bad taste that just left in everybody's mouth. Just as we're building momentum, it takes this to happen to kind of, in a weird way, it did derail you. It's not anybody's fault.
I mean, it did. It ended the band at that time, for sure.
Right. I mean,
so much so that, I mean, Andres and I decided to regroup and then rethink about what we were going to do next. And it was a complete, 180 turn.
Yeah. I mean, I get the feeling, though, with that part, it opened up some other things to have happen. And they were some blessings in disguise. I mean, you got to work with a great artist, Miles Hunt, who is like a god in the UK with the Wonder Stuff. You're talking about a guy who had, 17 top 20 hits in the UK with the Wonder Stuff. You know,
absolutely.
How does that come about? Obviously, he must have been a fan of Loveinreverse to kind of know.
He actually was not.
Really? I'm surprised. Wow.
It's interesting, that story. So we ended up signing a deal with this indie label called Gig Records out of New Jersey. What attracted me to that label was the fact that they had John Penny from Ned's Atomic Dustbin and his new project. They had Miles Hunt from the Wonder Stuff, who I already loved anyway. And I was like, really, Miles on his own? I want to hear what he's doing. When they played me his solo album called Harry on the Inside at the time, I was so blown away by it. I was like, all right, I want to be on this label if this album is what you're putting out. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
So what happened was we did the Amazing Meat project on, which was a completely different world from Loveinreverse. I mean, we were like, it was almost like acoustic glam rock. You know what I'm saying? Like T-Rex meets, I don't know. The way they were kind of marketing it was T-Rex and David Bowie meets Fleetwood Mac unplugged. So I mean,
Whoa.
completely different than what we were doing with Loveinreverse, you know,
Yeah.
100% different. And Miles liked that music. And at first, you know, we had met at a party, and he knew I was like so serious about music. He thought I was like this kind of, you know, serious kind of individual that was kind of humorless. So he was a little bit scared about going on tour with me, he told me at first.
He didn't know you
And
that
then,
well then.
and then we got together, and it was just the two of us went on an acoustic tour together, where I did a solo thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So besides Amazing Me Project, I also did solo albums for Gig Records as well. And I toured with Miles. That's how we became friends in 2000. We did a North American tour, just the two of us.
Right.
Acoustic guitar. He headlined, I opened, and I drove the whole drive in a Chevy van that we got from Warner Brothers.
Oh my goodness.
And, it was the most exciting, like, I don't know, little road trip you could possibly imagine, because we were running out of money at one point. Some of the shows were packed, and some of them, if we were in the middle of America, they didn't know who Miles Hunt was without the Wonder Stuff, and they didn't know who I was at all.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of nowhere, like Wisconsin, and that one's canceled. Then this
Oh,
one, we got
shit.
to the point where, do we have enough money to eat or get a hotel? So there was some of those things, but we laughed our ass off the whole time. We had the best time ever. It was great.
That sounds like, and it was a bonding experience. Obviously, you two are still good friends to this day.
Absolutely. And then he started his own solo band out in the UK with his current label that actually that the Wonder Stuff is on now.
Mm-hmm.
And he called it the Miles Hunt Club. And he was like, why don't we co-write some songs? We'll do some of my songs. I was like, I've got the best producer, drummer, bass player ever. So I brought Andres into the mix.
Right.
And then he had a bass player that was playing with some of the Wonder Stuff shows there. So it was like a half American, half British band. We went and toured with him, did one album with him. It was such a good album. I love that record. Called the Miles Hunt Club.
Hunt Club, right. That was about 2002,
so, I mean, you know,
2003.
we toured with Chris Conley. Remember that guy from Ministry?
Yes.
And he was in a few of those other offshoots of Nine Inch Nails and Ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of fun times, man. It was just really good stuff.
And you're still doing music to this day, which I'm really happy that you're still doing. And you are not afraid to continue to push the boundaries. For people who don't know, talk about Bedtime for Robots.
So Bedtime for Robots has been around since 2001, really.
Right.
It's really just a pet basement project of mine, really wanting to see what I could do with technology, electronics. It started off all analog recording, so there was no digital recording. So everything is actually played and some stuff programmed. And then I was starting to use samples in sort of weird ways, different than I had heard people doing before. Then I got interested in noise, and I got interested in ambient music, and kind of combined all these different electronic genres into this. It's all instrumental. So imagine if you took Tangerine Dream, circa 70s,
right,
Underworld, and I would say some of the kind of noise artists out of Japan, slammed all this together into one project. That's kind of, you know, a ballpark of what the vibe was. And then it's just evolved over the years. I've recorded like 30, 40 albums worth of music now since 2001.
Wow. And you're still experimenting now, because you were just telling me about this, and I'm sure some people know, some people don't. You actually going to have an album coming out of dance music. It's coming out in the UK. What can we expect off of this?
Well, there's some dance music in it, but it's a new Bedtime for Robots. It's a triple album. So this UK label, it's a small label called Black Box Recordings. It's a digital label. But the guy who runs it also runs a radio show that's a really cool radio show out of Leeds.
Cool.
It's called Wonky Planet. His name's Craig Manga, brilliant guy, and really down to earth and a brilliant musician himself. He's, to me, I consider him like the next John Peel. He's one of those guys that just discovers really off the wall stuff, and all the stuff that he brings, I'm always blown away by artists that he puts on his radio show, and stuff that he brings to the label, all kinds of interesting stuff. So I was really proud to have something with him, you know. So it's a triple album. It's going to be done in 3 exhibits. So Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, called I'm sorry,
And he's out of wine. Watch out, he's out of wine.
Out of wine. So on to the next phase. So
Right.
yeah, so the new album is going to be broken into 3 parts, and
Right.
it's got a mixture of dance music, ambient type stuff, and then it goes off into some really weird places, some stuff based on prog rock and post rock, and yeah, I think it's going to be something special, man.
Cool stuff. Look forward to it. Michael Ferentino is here on the A Game from Loveinreverse Bedtime for Robots. It's time for my segment called Random Shots. These are random questions that can come from virtually anywhere, but they will have a tie to Mike in one way, shape, or form. So here's a random shot to you.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yeah, I'm Cafe Patroning it tonight. God help me. All right, where do I start with this? You know what? The one thing I do know about you over the years is that you've never been afraid to express your opinion about music. So I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 artists. Give me your feel on what you feel about these artists.
Okay.
Post Malone.
You know what? I wasn't a fan when I saw him on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Then I saw him do a Nirvana like tribute with his
Yes.
dance. And I was pretty blown away by it. I got to be honest. I mean, it was covers, but it was well done. It was with the dude from Blink 182 playing drums. And,
yes.
They were doing it like in a quarantine kind of setup. I thought it was pretty awesome, man. I thought they sounded spot on. I thought his voice was great. So yeah, I'm willing to listen to more. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Lady Gaga.
I like Lady Gaga. I like Lady Gaga a lot. I like her better doing the more crazy electronic stuff. Her getting into the piano stuff is not really my thing. Not that I'm not into that kind of music. I really am a big Joni Mitchell fan, but I don't think she does that stuff as well as she does the crazy shit.
This one I'm pulling out of left field only because I do know that Johnny Z actually had this band under his umbrella for a while, featuring wrestler Chris Jericho, Fozzy.
I don't know that.
Oh, I stumped the panel on that one. All right.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
I'm going to ask you to check that out on your own, and you'll tell me that opinion. But that's honest. I appreciate that. I got to give you one more.
I'll tell you who I do like.
Okay, give me one. Give me one.
New artists. Billie Eilish.
Oh, yeah. She deserved everything she won in the Grammys. I'm sorry. She deserved it all. She really did. Mike is freezing up on me. This is what happens when we have live podcasts. Sometimes this does happen. I
lost you here for a
There
second,
you are. You're back,
man.
bud. You're back. You're back. You're back.
I've lost you completely.
I'm here if you're there.
We're in a technical glitch.
There we go. You're back. You're good. Can you see me? Okay, you're looking.
There's a technical glitch going on here.
You don't see me anymore. Man. Oh, this isn't good.
There you are. You're back.
Hey, I'm back. All right.
Hey man, this is how life goes.
And I have no problem with this. This is what live podcasting is all about. You take the glitches, as we know, technology is not perfect, as much as we want to think it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, I gotta give a shout out to my dad. It's his birthday today.
Oh, Joe, Mr. Ferentino.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for absolutely, and thank you for the nice compliments you've given me on Facebook. I appreciate that. Okay. Which is the bigger accomplishment? You and Andres doing music for a View Askew movie, or Dave Halpern playing with the Bee Gees?
Oh man, Dave Halpern playing with the Bee Gees is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I was so proud of him and so excited for him when he got that.
Not a lot of people know that. He actually played on one of the last albums that the Bee Gees did. I think it was Still Waters. He did one of the singles. That single eventually became on the Greatest Hits album. As a matter of fact, I got a photo here. Christian, give me the platinum album that Mr. Halpern has earned from his, there it is. I'm sorry, that's a great honor when you get something like that. I mean, that's fantastic. Dave, we're proud of you for everything you've done, especially that.
I mean, it was really cool that he got onto that. I was so proud of him. Russ Titleman, he was producing our album, and he asked me, he goes, "Do you mind if I borrow your drummer for some tracks on the new Bee Gees album?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?
Right.
Go for it, man. That's the greatest honor in the world to be on a Bee Gees record."
But with that being said, going to the other side, I mean, what was it like when you're getting a chance to actually do music for a motion picture? I mean, it's got to be an exciting experience, but I also get the feeling it's kind of tedious because you actually have to, I would think, watch the movie, understand it, and try to maybe write songs that kind of apply to the plot? Or is it something you already had some stuff pre-recorded?
I had stuff pre-recorded, but Vincent Pereira, the guy who directed the film, he's one of these kind of directors that was really into every aspect. So we really got together, and he sat in our studio and listened to hours and hours of music and said, "Oh, I think this might be cool for this part, and this might be cool for this part." And then we got together and watched some footage and put it together. He was involved 100%. I loved working with him. It was really cool.
Yeah, the movie was called A Better Place. It actually featured Jason Lee, who is a veteran of the View Askew universe. His wife at the time, Carmen Llewellyn, was also in the movie. And there was another guy, Ian Bailey, who eventually would do a movie with Jason Lee later on called Almost Famous, which I know was a great film. So, I mean, you're getting to work with some interesting... I mean, did you get a chance to meet any of the actors by any chance during that whole thing?
I met Jason Lee, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really
he seems like he's...
Actually, and Carmen Llewellyn as well. I met both of them, actually. Yeah.
I would imagine Jason Lee's an interesting character. He just seems like he's kind of a little out there, but really sweet.
Really down to earth and really nice. I remember him showing up with a backpack on, and we were just hanging out, sitting outside of a movie theater in Red Bank, and just sat and chatted for a while, me, him, and his girl. But really good people, very nice people.
Very, very cool. Since we mentioned Miles Hunt, I'd be remiss not to ask this question. Favorite song from the Wonder Stuff?
Actually, believe it or not, everybody's going to laugh at me, but Welcome to the Cheap Seats. Still my favorite. That's the song that I discovered them with.
Right.
And after hearing that, I was like, I'm in love with this, man. This is just really cool. I know a lot of their fans think of that as their like kind of weird hit, but I think it's brilliant.
The funny thing is, I kind of picked something from that same era. I think it was the single before that. The Size of a Cow was mine.
It's a great song.
It's a great album. It really is. But you're right. The Wonder Stuff fans are probably sitting there kind of going, you guys picked the most commercially accessible album that they ever...
On the road, man! Which is also a great one, too. But I really love Welcome to the
and here's the funny thing. If Miles, if you're watching this, Wonder Stuff fans, if you're watching this, let's not forget one thing. The band had one #1 UK hit. Does anybody remember it? Because you want to talk about a little... Yeah, exactly. They recorded a cover. Brilliant cover. But doing Dizzy, and that's the one that went to #1 in the UK, I'm like going, I'm happy for them, and at the same token, you're going, hold it. There was a couple better tracks. But, hey, #1 is #1. Bravo.
Hey, man. I saw something on this recently. Oh, one of my friends who runs a podcast, he played the original version of Show Must Go On by Three Dog Night.
Oh, Three Dog Night. Okay.
Do you know that Leo Sayer originally did that?
I did not know that.
He wrote that song, played it on banjo, and it's a really different version. It's really cool. And I was like, I can't believe this is that same dude, Leo Sayer, that had that song, When I Need You. You know what I'm saying?
I can always count on you for coming up with something that even I don't even know. That's what I love about you.
Obscure. My friend Sport Murphy, man, he's a genius. He has a podcast as well that, like, he just does obscure music. That's what he goes for. And it's absolutely brilliant. You know, some of the stuff that he pulls out, it's stuff that you've never heard before.
Right.
And I'm hearing the song. I'm like, wow, I know this song really well, but who's doing this? I couldn't figure it out. And then afterwards, he goes, "That's Leo Sayer." And I was like, "What?" That's
Good
so
stuff.
Random.
That is. Speaking of random,
you know, but what you see is that like their song that became the big hit was such a shticky version where they put the music in it.
Exactly.
But the original version is not meant to be shticky at all. It's a really crude, cool song. But of course, the world of pop music and everything's got to be a big shtick to sell it to the dumb masses. Apparently, we're not smart enough to like realize that good music. I'm sure people would love to hear some really good music if they would just put it out there.
Now you understand why I had him on my podcast. I expected him to be this blunt. Thank you very much. All right, I got two more for you, and then we'll wrap up here. When it comes to today's music and where Loveinreverse was, I've said this to you many times. I've said it many times to people who have known the band. I'm going to say it again now. When I look at a band like Muse, and I look at what they've done, and I look at Loveinreverse, I'm kind of going, Loveinreverse proved they were ahead of the curve. You basically were Muse before Muse. Is there anything that you sit there and say, you know what? There's nothing wrong with being ahead of the curve. This is the way we've always been, and it's the only way we know how to do music.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And not only that, but he's better looking and he's got a nicer voice than I do.
Oh, come on. Come on.
So,
dude,
you know, he took some of the sound. My feeling on this is he probably never even heard Loveinreverse. It's just luck of the draw that sound kind of came into vogue
right
by that time. Maybe he heard it. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if he had and said,
right.
you know, the reason that we are what
we yes
are today is because of you guys. But I've never gotten a call from Muse. So
shit.
I'm going to doubt that one.
Yeah. I'm wrapping up with a quote that you said right around 1997. I think these words still hold true today. You'll tell me yes or no. You said, quote, if by some chance our album sold 1 million records, I would be pleasantly surprised, but that was never our goal. Somehow I think that still holds true today. You're a creator. If it clicks, great, but that's not what we're about.
Yeah, absolutely not. In fact, I think I'd probably be dead if we sold 1 million records.
Oh, come on.
I would get into all the excesses of rock and roll and I would be dead by now. You know what keeps me alive is that I have to have a day job. So
that's true. Oh,
yeah.
by the way, your day job, you're in the medical profession, so much respect for what you do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So yeah, you know, being in the medical profession keeps you humble. Mm-hmm. Keeps you helping people for a living, and
right.
then I can spend all my time making music
mm-hmm.
without worrying about, because like the label out of the UK, he's like, whatever you want, I love what you do, just do what you want. There's no, let's not put this song on there. He never even tells me what to do.
Oh, fantastic!
It's just 100%. He's like, give me the finished album when it's done. I want to hear it as a surprise, and that's the greatest gift you can have from a label as an artist to me.
Well, one gift that we're going to have, and it's a great way to wrap this whole thing up, thanks to Mike. He's given me my theme song for this. It's something that I heard last year, and I thought, oh, my God, this is fantastic. I can use this. And I get a chance to play the whole thing to wrap up this podcast, so I'm excited about that. It's new Loveinreverse music. You've got a full album out. Bella Baby is the song.
The album's not out yet.
Not yet? Okay.
We have a number of singles out, but there will be a full album. We're actually working on a couple of pretty weird covers, too.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this.
We're releasing a science fiction double feature from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh,
we're working on a version of Under the Milky Way Tonight by The Church.
Oh, I think you guys would pull off a great version. That should be right up your alley.
A version of I Feel Love by Donna Summer.
I got a funny feeling that's going to be a little dark. I don't know why, but it could work. It could work really well. I like this.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It's an interesting version of it, but it's been really fun working on this stuff. Absolutely.
Very cool. So as we're wrapping up, they recorded this before the social distancing, but it's interesting. You're going to see the video. You've got Anders, Mike, and Dave, not necessarily together. So it kind of feels like you guys kind of recorded this during the pandemic, but you actually didn't.
We did. We did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Before the pandemic.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Before.
I recorded my parts in Florida, Andres in Queens, and Dave Halpern in New Jersey. So
cool stuff.
And even the video,
Mike?
like my video parts were shot down here. Theirs were shot up there. And then we sent my shots. My wife, Jennifer, actually shot my parts. Sent them to Andres, and then he kind of edited the whole thing to make it look like it was all done at the same time.
And it does. And we're going to wrap it up with that. Mr. Ferentino, it's been too long. Thank you so much for doing this.
My friend.
We'll definitely be keeping in touch. And hopefully 2021, there will be a trip back up the East Coast so I can see your ass.
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. Let's wrap up the
Cheers,
A-game with Bella.
My empty glass.
Right back at you. This is Bella Baby from Loveinreverse.
I'm okay. better than me. Better than me. You know better than me. Yeah, yeah. But you know better than me. Better than me. You know better than me.